It's been a long time, but today I'm back with another video. And in this video, I will be showing you my process on how to create anime-style digital art. I will also share the project file in the description below so you can study it. And aside from that, I will give this anime-style cloud brush pack for free. So make sure to watch the whole video because I'll be announcing how you can get this for free. So yeah, no more long introductions, let's get started. Before I start doing any painting, I always try to find some reference photos for inspiration. For this particular artwork, I want to create a very simple background art where there is a structure on the side of the road, something like a small shop with a signage on the roof and along the sidewalk. Usually I look for reference photos on Google and Flickr, which is a photography website. And sometimes I use Google Street View, which is a very convenient way of looking for a real place to draw. There's no rule into how many images you need to get, so feel free to find as many as you need. But for me, I'll settle with 5 images. Once I have some reference, I look at every one of them and try to analyze which objects or elements I could add to my drawing. Like for this one, this part looks interesting, so I will be adding that to my drawing. And also, the shape of this structure is very simple, so I think I could use that as well. And one thing that I learned about using reference is that it helped me improve my observational skills, and it teaches me how to translate what I see from the reference into my drawing. So don't be afraid of using reference photos. I really think that it's one of the most important steps for creating a good drawing. Now that I analyzed the images, I will now combine all the elements I found earlier to create a rough sketch based on that. I tried to incorporate as many elements as I need to make the drawing interesting and to make it different and unique. It's important to use the images only as a guide and avoid copying everything from one source. My goal is to create a unique drawing by combining different elements from different references. I usually draw everything by hand, but this time I created a 3D model of the main structure using SketchUp. Basically, I created a very simple model with basic shapes, like most of these are rectangles and squares. I mean, nothing too complicated. I just combined everything until I created the main shape of the structure. I initially recorded a video of how I modeled this, but OBS crashed while I'm recording it, so yeah, it's a bummer. But if you want to learn about how to use SketchUp, maybe I can create a tutorial about that on the next video. Let me know in the comments if you want. But anyway, I will share the project file of this video so you can study it and you can also use it on your own drawing if you want. The reason why I use SketchUp to create 3D models is that it's very easy to use compared to other 3D apps that I used before. It has a free web version that you can access anywhere on any computer for free without installing the app. And probably the most important feature that I really like about SketchUp is the way I can easily customize the look of the model however I want it for my drawing. I can easily change the style of the lines to different look depending on my drawing needs. So I can make the style like a normal line art if I wanted a clean look for my drawing. Or if I want it to look like a sketch, I can easily change it to be like that. Really cool, right? I can also easily add colors that could be the base for my painting. And even adding light and shadow is super easy to use. I can also export this as a raster file like JPEG or PNG or other file format, and I can use it as a starting point of my painting. So yeah, overall, I really find SketchUp to be the best app to create a 3D model that looks like an actual anime drawing. Of course, it has its limitation, but I guess we can talk about it on another video. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to say thank you so much for staying until this part of the video. If you think this channel helped you in your art journey, I'd be so happy if you consider subscribing to this channel and liking this video and share this video to your friends or families. Again, thank you so much and let's get back to the video. I imported the final drawing that I did on SketchUp on my drawing app, which is Procreate, but this will also work on any drawing app. The first step of my painting process is adding the base colors. Usually I use a base color similar to the color of the sky. And since I wanted to make a bright sunny day, I use a light blue as my base color to set up the overall mood of my painting. By doing this, I can plan out all the colors that could work together and blend well in my painting. It's important to plan out the colors that I will use in the beginning to avoid any major changes along the way. So I made sure that I have chosen a color palette that I will use as my guide. When choosing colors, I use a website called Color Hunt, which is a website that generates beautiful color palettes. There are a lot of color palettes here, but I'll stick with this one at the top because I really like how soft and inviting these colors are. and I think this will work perfectly for my painting. Of course, I will still need to use other colors, but these 4 colors will be my main highlight of the painting. I will use the lasso tool to select each section that I like to paint and separate them on different layers so I can work on each of those colors later on. The good thing about using a color palette is that all the colors complement each other and they work together properly. So even though you put them in different places or mix them throughout different parts of your drawing, it will still look good. When I was starting out as a digital artist, I always struggle to find the best color combination for my painting. Most of the time, I don't know if my color choices are correct, and I will only realize that the colors I used didn't look right until I finished my painting, which was a big mistake for a beginner like me. So planning out everything in the beginning could save me a lot of mistakes at the end. And so when I learned that using limited colors that complements each other can actually make my painting better, I started to use color palette to help me choose the best color combination for my painting. Sometimes we think that if we use a lot of different colors in our painting, then it will look good and interesting, but that is not always the case. Less is more, as the old saying goes. Of course, there are always exceptions to this, but for me, the simpler the colors, the more it will look good. Once I'm done with adding all the base colors, the next step I usually do is to render all the lighting details into the painting. Since I already have the shadow setup from the 3D model that I did earlier, it's easier for me to visualize where the light source is. Light rendering is very tricky, especially when you're starting out, but I think the most important thing to learn is how light affects different materials and how it reflects and absorbs light differently. For instance, in this painting, the light source emits light that travels in all directions, and some of this emitted light will directly hit this wooden wall. The reflected light is what you see bouncing off the wall. I know that sounds too technical, which honestly it is, but once you learn more about lighting, it will be easier to understand. Light rendering in digital painting is very important because it is the one defining the form of an object. And it also creates the mood of the scene, and it directs the viewer's attention by highlighting the key areas of the painting. I will also color the tree here as well and some other parts that I haven't colored yet. And so, I'll just continue to add more color rendering to this painting to give this a bit more depth and to balance everything out. I'll also color the cast shadow on the floor to improve the contrast between the light area and the dark area, which again, I already have the shadow set up earlier during the 3D modeling, so it's easier now and more accurate. I will also add a soft light transition to the shadow to make the light appear more brighter and softer. And lastly, I'll continue with rendering other parts of the painting like this pole. If lighting makes a scene come alive, then shadow makes the scene feel grounded and it adds depth and realism. So now, I'll focus on adding shadow to the overall painting. There are a lot of shadow terms when it comes to painting, but the most commonly used is the ambient occlusion. This shadow appears in the corners or between the edges where two surfaces meet, such as in this wooden wall where there are overlapping surfaces. So basically, it's like adding soft shadows to the areas where light can't reach to make things look more 3D and realistic. It's also important to add core shadows to the part where the light is completely blocked and can't illuminate, like the other side of the wood. This can increase the depth and make the painting more 3D and realistic. After adding light and shadow, the next that I do is to add some details and texture to the painting. Details are very important to make the painting look more real. Just like in this roof, adding some details like stains or scratches make this look imperfect or look worn out, which is what we need to create realism to the painting. I will also add some marks and dirt texture on the road since I don't want it to be super clean and perfect. The goal is to make the objects look like that it has already been used and not new. You can add as much detail as you want depending on the story you want it to show in your painting. If you wanted to create a painting showing a wasteland, then adding a lot of imperfections or details would justify it since a wasteland has a lot of used or broken things, and adding those details would increase the narrative of the painting. So I think it's also important to know the main story you want to convey on your painting so you can know how much detail you wanted to show on it. My initial sketch didn't include the house at the back, but then I realized to add something there to add more depth and to maximize that empty space. Unfortunately, the screen recording while I'm painting that wasn't saved, so I cannot show how I made it, but you can check out the project file that I will provide in case you wanted to dig deeper into that. Sometimes there are things that I will add in my painting that is not present from the initial sketch, and personally for me, I find it annoying because it takes me longer to finalize the artwork. And sometimes I also feel that it's my weakness because I can't see the final outcome when I start the project. But on the other hand, I think it could also be a strength because I feel like each time I add something new, it's because I'm trying to improve the artwork and I'm trying to make it better. I think it's all part of the creative process, and being able to discover and refine as I go means my final piece is more thoughtful and detailed. And embracing these changes makes the art more dynamic and unique, which make the process more exciting and worth it at the end. If any one of you feels the same way, don't worry, I also feel that, and I think that's a beautiful dilemma of being an artist. So yeah, let's embrace it and learn as we go. Another thing that I'd like to add at the end of the painting is a rim light. So rim light happens when a light shines on the edge of an object, making it look like it has a bright outline around it. For example, this wood will have a rim light on one edge because the light is hitting that specific side of the wood, making it glow and stand out from the background. And this glowing outline helps to define the shape of the object and makes it more visible. If you look at most of Makoto Shinkai's background art, you can see that he uses it a lot on his work, that's why it looks so beautiful and realistic. So make sure to add that to the edge of an object where the light is present to create contrast to other objects and to add depth to your scene. And as a final touch, to make it look like a real anime, I'm going to add a haze light from the sun and make the area where the light hits more brighter and soft to create a dreamy atmosphere. I'll also add some light fall off to the cast shadow to create an interesting transition from light to dark. And also, I'll add some atmospheric perspective at the back to separate the background from the foreground. And to make this really look like an anime, I will add some lens flare to add to the overall brightness and visual impact to the scene, and to add a sense of intensity and realism. And lastly, I'll just do some final addition to the painting, like the signage and light scattering and highlights to the trees and grass to finish it off. And that's it. This is technically how I make my digital art, and I hope you get something useful and informative. And like I said, the project file is available from the link in the description below, so don't forget to download it so you can study the files. And lastly, as I promised earlier, I will be giving this anime style cloud brush pack for free. The only thing you need to do is to comment what's your favorite part of this video, and that's it. I'll give you the download link so you can use it on your own artwork. Before I go, I just want to say thank you to those who wait patiently on this video, and I apologize that it took a lot longer to upload it. I'll do my best to upload consistently and hopefully make this channel more active. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again on the next video. Take care.